think this is what economic development is all about. It's about going from just raising living standards to broadening the amount of goods and services and giving opportunities for people to realize their capacity, their possibilities in life, and that's what economic development achieves. Of course, quality of life is also about things like the environment, it's about the social sector, it's about access to health, it's about access to education. And all those things have to be improved, and as China moves closer and closer to what we say the technology frontier, you'll need more of technological skills. You need to have a good insurance system, a good health care system, a good social system, good unemployment system. So all those things have to support a dynamic global economy. I'm convinced that it's the right strategy to try to improve people's life, their social environment, their broadening their opportunities. I think that China has opened up, the world has benefited from China's opening up, and China has benefited from its opening up. That process, I think, will continue. We'll have to see exactly, how it goes, and there may be some areas where there are tensions, and it will be more difficult to keep an open approach. But in general, I think that this, and your president said so in a speech today, that globalization is irreversible, and China has to be part of that. The fact that it develops its own domestic market is just very natural. I think it's not so strange when you have a very large economy like the Chinese one, to develop your own domestic market. This is very natural. And what I think one should be really very careful about is to try to build borders to other countries and limit the exchange with other companies, with other markets. So yes, China should develop its own market. It has enough resources and enough human capital, enough financial resources to develop its own economy, and it should continue to do so. But it should be very careful not to isolate itself, because that will only slow down growth. It's quite simple that countries that isolate themselves will have lower growth. I think the advantage with China is that it is a much larger market. Again, if you look at the United States, it's also not so dependent on foreign trade as maybe a small open economy like my own, Sweden. So you have to look at the specific conditions that China is facing. So again, China can rely on its domestic market, but it should still stay in close contact and work. So much of the global value chains now in the world are in China. And China has, over the last 10, 15 years, taken more and more of these value chains, particularly intermediate goods, and it will continue that process. I think it's a big step forward. It's particularly in Asia, the structure of trade agreements was very confusing and very not very helpful for bringing about greater trade. But so now we have an agreement, and we should build on that, and be open to maybe the US at some point joining this. We also have to realize that today it's less about trade in goods, it's more about trade in services and also information flows. And increasingly it's going to be about information flows, and that's a completely different set of agreements you need then. And we need agreements that go much beyond what traditional trade agreements have been about. And that, I think, is the future, and that's where we need to have everyone in the room. I'm a strong believer in multilateralism, and I work for a multilateral organization now, and I think that is the future. And these bilateral agreements that the US preferred under the Trump administration. I think it is not the way forward. And we have seen with the recent signing of the RCEP is a big step forward, and there are some other major agreements at work, and we want the US to be part. It is the largest economy in the world. It is still very influential in many areas.